Got it.
I'm turning my volume off and hello. Here we are live for this super exciting conversation with Ishani, and I am inviting her to join so we can get going and dive into this super juicy conversation about the energetics of dance and prayerformance. So in a moment,
oh my gosh,
everyone.
The energetics of dance and prayerformance. So
okay.
in a moment. Hey, hello to everyone.
Percy. Hi, everybody.
Video.
Okay, there's Ishani.
All right.
Hi, Percy.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Hi,
Ishani is a freaking incredible human.
All right.
And she is going to pop on.
I'm so excited. Ishani is a freaking incredible
really excited about this conversation. It's great to see everyone here. If anyone has any questions about how we feel,
I'm really excited about this conversation. It's great to see everyone here.
Check it out.
Questions about
and drop them in the chat.
Feel dance and energy.
Let's see. Okay.
Check it out.
Technology.
Drop them in the chat.
Is happening.
Yes.
Yay.
Yay. Hi.
Hello, you did it. We navigated the complexities of devices and technology, and now we get to talk about this beautiful, powerful energy that lives inside all of us. To everyone, I want to welcome Ishani here. What a joy and a gift and a pleasure to have you here, Ishani. I feel I admire you so much, and I speak so highly of you. I know I shared in my stories recently that I think the first time I ever saw you was you were at a performance, and I could see in the way that you moved the wisdom in your body and the way that energy was moving in your body. And I see a lot of amazing, performances and dances, and it's not to belittle any of those other practices, but you really have a lot of depth of experience that, especially in this day and age, is not so easily found. A lot of us in this modern time don't study deeply a practice for 5, 10, 15 years, and I really see that in you.
20 years. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. This is wild. We've got like 4 screens going. I've never been this high tech before. But yeah, 20 years. Yep.
20 years. So do you want to start by just doing a brief, what your what practices you've studied, why they inspired you? Yeah, just kind of give some context to where you're coming from.
Yeah, so when I was 18, I was kind of, I guess, like every other 18-year-old, kind of looking out at the world, going, what do I want to do with my life? I got to figure it out, got to find something. And I didn't really see anything that inspired me. I mean, it was a different world 20 years ago than it is now. There wasn't as much there wasn't Hogwarts, there wasn't circus school, there wasn't anything that I really resonated with. Until I found a style of meditation called Ascension. And I read a book and I was like, what is this? I have to go learn this because, through my own like psychedelic journeying up to that point in my life when I was younger, I knew that there was more to the human experience than just 9 to 5. So I found Ascension, and there was a training facility in North Carolina, Asheville, like near Asheville, in the mountains, in the Smoky Mountains, the Cherokee land. The Grandmother Mountains are the oldest mountains in the world, actually, and they're just super beautiful and feminine, rounded with time, a lot of quartz. So it's a really beautiful place to find sanctuary and just meditate for 7 months. like every day, all day, just like 16 hours a day, just diving deep with these ascension attitudes, which are basically just mental techniques based in appreciation, gratitude, love, and compassion, but formulated into a practice, and not just like a now I'm happy and now I'm not, and oh, I'm going to choose to be grateful for this, and but this over here sucks. These are all like all encompassing statements that basically lead lead the mind inward to a place of acceptance, of what is. And it's like inclusivity and including the whole experience of life, just cradling that in a place of gratitude and appreciation. If not gratitude, appreciation is the first one. It's like, if you can't be grateful for something, the very least you can appreciate something. You could say, hey, that's a great earrings. I love your earrings. Like, you got style. Like, and that's the least amount of emotional investment, but it also completely changes your perspective and provides like a receptive state, which when you're in a receptive state, you can understand that there's so much more to life than 9 to 5. And so that's kind of where I started to dive deep into my practice, and just wanting to just uncover all of the layers of identity that were thrown on. Hey, diachronic glass man from Asheville back in the day. Whoop whoop. Yeah. That's, yeah, old school. But yeah, so started ascension meditation, and really started just tapping into my inward experience, and like training my mind to choose for that, because that's really, we have that power, that creative power to switch our focus. It's like a radio station, and we're just like being bombarded with all these different channels, and we can actually like tune that frequency into a place of appreciation, gratitude, love, and compassion. And so that was that kind of that seed training for me. And when I started belly dancing in 1999, I did it because I was really awkward in my body. I was really locked up, and I felt all kinds of feels when I moved that way. And I had a lot of conditioning from this life and beyond, I'm sure, about expressing my femininity and my sensuality and my circular, like, beautiful movements, and feeling like in my body. And like I was like, don't watch me, anybody. My boyfriend at the time, I was like, you can't watch. I'm doing this for me. I just needed to go inside and just move this way. And so I never really got into it thinking that I was going to be some kind of performer. I just knew that I had a lot of energy to move in myself. So that's where it started.
Mm. Oh, that's so beautiful to hear that soul-seeking passion that really drove this journey. And I'm sure a lot of people relate to that feeling of yeah, not feeling comfortable in the body, or feeling stiff, or feeling, like, how do I be here, and how do I sense and listen, and what is beyond this 9 to 5? I love how you're referring to it in that way. And no offense to people who are working 9 to 5 either. These spiritual practices can unfold in so many ways. Yeah, I love, I hear, and this is something I talk a lot about in my work, is that reclaiming this feeling kind of lost. And I, we can point to trauma, we can point to systemic oppression and colonization for why we're in such a state in this society, and the power of that reclaiming of our power, like of your power, of your confidence, and hearing where you're coming from and seeing who you are now. And, I mean, you were always the same being, but the evolution of seeing you holding, this beautiful dignity and wisdom, and connection with your body and connection with energy, which I'm really excited to talk about. Maybe And for folks who don't know, I dance. I do a form of dance called that I'm calling energy dance, where I am actively combining energy work with movement. And I also have a pretty extensive background in martial arts, which I believe you do as well, right, Ishani?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you want to take us now into, I mean, I think this is a question I asked you backstage when I first met you, and I was just like, who's this person? I need to know what they're doing and what they're feeling. I asked you something about, how do you experience energy when you move, when you dance, when you move? And if you want to speak to Prayerformance, or we can jump back to that later too.
Yeah. So I think with that initial like seeking of mine for a deeper understanding of what it means to be in a human body on the planet right now, and really like it was a desperate search for me to hey Tracer, we love us, super electric. Yeah, it's fun to see all my friends like hey, yeah, like it's been a journey of seeking that. It's like a desperate need to experience the more, because I felt like the only one going, wait a minute, the emperor has no clothes kind of thing. Like, yeah, no offense to the 9 to 5ers, but also like if you're born into this system, it's compromise is inherent, debt is inherent, and guilt is inherent because of the way that we are like forced to conform to this structure that we didn't really necessarily have any input in designing, but we found ourselves here. And those of us that are still fighting the good fight to like change it from the inside out, I think that fight involves reaching and finding your own sovereignty and your own creative sovereignty. And I've seen just in the last 20 years how people have shifted to really exploring what it means to be creatively sovereign, and artistically and also physically, like expressing yourself in sensual ways. Whereas 20 years ago, pole dancing was a like thing you didn't talk about. Belly dancing was kind of relegated with stripping. It was like, oh, you're a belly dancer, what do you really do? And now it's like it's a totally different consciousness just in the last 20 years. And I love seeing that. I love having been able to witness that in my lifetime. And I'm excited to see more of that. And so yeah, energetically, what happens when you move, and we're these energetic beings. We we radiate electricity. We are constantly generating an aura and heat. Our thoughts are impulses that move and that we send and that resonate. Like there's all kinds of fun studies in like physics, where they've found that like the subtlest thought, if you think a thought, you can actually resonate with another frequency. It's like a tuning fork. When you hit one tuning fork, another one of the same frequency vibrates. And that's what happens when you're aligning yourself with certain thought forms. That's why it's so important what you think and what you say and what you do, because you're constantly generating energy whether you realize it or not. So the realizing of it and the harnessing of it is kind of where the fun comes in, because that's where you begin to take creatorship. And yeah, you begin to play with the living mandala that you create. And especially when you dance, it's like an energetic vortex that's happening of healing, of your relationship with the present moment, of your relationship with the music and how it's hitting your cells and your bones and your heart, your emotions. And so all of that plays in. And belly dance has always been particularly interesting to me because it kind of really isolates the full spectrum of rhythm and melody, which is like left brain, right brain. So rhythm is like pattern, pata, paternal, it's father, it's digital. it's like the extraterrestrial kind of like star being energy of like, you know, what's patterned, what is um what is imprinted. And the mata, the mother, the melody is the analog, it's the wave, it's the flow, it's the melody and the music. And so doing both at the same time in belly dance and any form of dance really, but belly dance and also pop and lock are like two forms of dance that are really, the spectrum is fully like explored in a way in the body. And so you're unlocking left brain, right brain activity at the same time, which is super balancing. It's like rubbing your, you know, stomach and patting your head or whatever. Yeah, at the same time. And it's a great exercise, but then you like compound that on like several different levels. And so you're layering rhythm and melody like over and over in the body. And it basically creates this super consciousness of a third state of flow state. And you know, people are talking more and more about that, and it's been discussed in like meditation circles for years. It's like you're culturing the witnessing state. And the more you step into that witnessing state, the less you are pulled by the extremes, you know, narrowed focus to like, oh my God, I'm all about my emotions. Oh, I'm up against the windshield of life. Or like, oh, you know, like I'm just analyzing all of this and like judging and thinking and name and form, and like you're so stuck in your left brain or your right or your emotions, your analytical mind or your emotional mind. Instead, you're kind of drawing back into that third perspective of objectivity, taking a moment, having a breath, you know, being in the present, maybe looking at things a little differently, seeing the bigger picture, allowing for there to be a bigger picture, which is probably the most intelligent thing we can do. So again, we're just like culturing that state of receptivity and breath and flow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love all these things you're saying. I resonate so much. So many elements of what you're speaking to. It's affirming, you know, when we talk to people so like-minded with similar experiences. I loved that you spoke of this kind of vortex, this energetic vortex that we can create, and the way you broke down that understanding of the rhythm, which I was kind of thinking of in the Shiva Shakti balance. You know, there's kind of the rhythm is almost this structure of support that kind of holds things together. And then the rhythm is that dynamic fluid balance. And you probably relate to this where you mentioned like the flow state. I often feel that I go into pretty deep trance state when I'm dancing. And often that sort of the rhythm is happening in one way, and then the fluid part is happening in another way. You know, I feel energy streaming out of my hands and through this column in my body. And then I'm playing, like you said, playing with that and then wielding it. Did you say the word wielding? I got really, or something
sure
like that.
I caught it if I didn't say it.
I think you might have said it, and I got really excited because that's how I talk about my work, is like inviting people to come learn to use dance as a practice, as a tool to tap into this infinite source energy that's in us and all around us all the time, but to really consciously do that with certain, you know, practices that, you know, peoples around the world have known about that are incorporated in belly dance and other martial arts and things like that. So that we can tap into that energy and then consciously wield it and direct it for that change, you know, that we want in the world, and for that healing for ourselves, that empowerment that I hear you speaking to, you know, the ways that we can reclaim the truth of ourselves as divine energy beings. Yeah, and there were someone in the chat who asked about asking questions. Folks are welcome to put questions in the chat. We're going to keep talking, but we'll see if we see your question, and we can weave it in or also make space at the end. So yeah, feel free to ask questions in here. So juicy, Ishani. So Oh, so many things. So one thing I would love to hear about is, and some folks listening are probably familiar with this word, prayerformance. And I know for me, I loved hearing you say that you never, thought you would be a performer. I have a little like nervous shyness in speaking about this, but I also, dance has been a very deeply personal, inward, my own practice, my own spiritual practice. And, I've come to, through following the passion and following how incredible, like so many expansive, deep spiritual experiences that I have on the dance floor. The passion to share and talk about it grew and grew to the point where now I'm hosting energy dance ceremonies and hold space for guided, deep trance ceremonies through the power of dance. And so I have not really ever performed as someone to be watched, when I dance, but it's something that I'm starting to feel that call to do because it's in a way, it's like I feel that the energetic power of what I'm doing can better translate and be received and also embodied by those witnessing, right? That something is translated. Like when you are performing a prayerformance, the spiritual, the energetic, the intention, and just the resonant, like you said, with the vibrational resonance that you're emitting has that impact on the people, and I've gotten to be one of those people witnessing you dance many times. So I'm curious how you see that role of prayerformance in terms of impacting people, in terms of the energetic impact that it can have and the spiritual upliftment that it can bring, or your own take on it. Tell us about prayerformance in your experience.
Yeah. So again, we're energetic beings. We're constantly emitting and we're constantly praying, actually, because every thought that we have, every impulse that we are generating is echoing into a holographic universe and coming and bringing us life and bringing us response. And so that's kind of what prayer is sending out an intentional, you know, vibe and receiving a vibe in return, which is what we're literally always doing. So it's just a matter of if you're like conscious of it or not, and like how often you want to be in that place of consciousness and how often you choose for it. And that's kind of the praying without ceasing in, the Christian scripts talk about that state of constant prayer, because it's really just constant awareness, like that you are always in a state of prayer. And so what are you praying for? Are you making prayers that's like, I see you, glitch wizard, we'll get there, that we're there. Yeah, like we're always in the state of praying. It's just a matter of like, what are we saying, what are we vibing, what are we aligning ourselves with? And I think music is that beautiful blend between rhythm and melody. That's why music is such a lifesaver. We like, you can turn on music and everything's okay, because it's providing the left brain with its rhythm and the right brain with its melody, and both at the same time is creating this beautiful harmonics. And now with electronic music, we've got a full spectrum that maybe we didn't have with live music, that allows us to like really ascend to like the highest levels of, the melodic angelic realm, down to the bassy levels of the deepest rooty, and so like, yeah, having both at the same time is super balancing for the mind. So it's easy, it's entrainment is what it's happening. It's entraining our minds to vibe in a place of harmony. And so when we're all at a music festival together, some place where we're all playing, we're all vibing on a frequency, that's also super powerful, because again, we're all energetic beings, and now we're all vibing on one beautiful harmonic frequency together, and we're basically like reaching a unity state. And I'm sure we've all felt that. And so there's like variations of, you know, training ourselves. And now, and over so many years, I've also watched people come in, you know, on Friday at a festival, and they're like, I don't know why I'm wearing this unicorn onesie. I was like, I'm trying to set up my tent. Nah, I'm all stressed out. And then by Sunday, they're just like, everything's fucking amazing. Like, I love everyone. Hey, me, I see you, I see me, we're all no, and it's like a total, and now we're leveling up. And so over years and years of that, we show up already and we throw down, and now we're like living the lives in our regular lives, default world. We're living that level up. And so ultimately, like, you can kind of see, like, if you want to progress that, we are really beginning to dance in every moment of our lives, and we're really looking for that constant flow of constant harmony, constant state of prayer. So yeah, there's different levels of that. And I also call it multitasking, because I feel like multitasking is the ultimate kind of flow state, when you're just like, you're like the 8-armed goddess, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, blah, 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 blah. But you're in this place of alignment, and you're in that vibe, but you're like getting all this other stuff done, and you're aware of all this stuff. Yes, life is a dance. Exactly. Prayerformance is a thing that, I mean, I started calling it that years and years ago, because I didn't really feel like I was a performer. I didn't feel like I was like putting on a show. I felt like I was allowing people to witness my relationship with the divine. You know, I was like, my relationship with the present moment, which, like, and the music. I felt like I was allowing people to witness that, and that I, through that witnessing, that I was encouraging, maybe like, because I was giving myself permission to fully experience that in an ecstatic way, that I could give other people that same permission. And like, why not? Why wouldn't we have that freedom to feel like free in our bodies, and to express our sensuality? And I think for a lot of, like, you know, femme-bodied people particularly, it has been a not safe environment for expression of our sensuality. We've been persecuted and, you know, judged, and I mean, a list of, like, like, it's just not been safe. And so, like, riding that wave and really like bringing fire into it also, into that, like, just shining as brightly as you feel like you want to, and like lighting up that, that freedom of expression, that freedom that you feel in your body, where you're dropping in on all those levels. And it is a very personal experience, but it's also, it belongs to everyone, because everyone is your birthright to feel free in your body. We don't even know the like tiniest tip of the iceberg of what it means to be human, and living in these like encapsulated circuit boards of amazingness and like, we don't even know what we're capable of. And so if we can move that energy, and in like that, through that rhythm and melody, which is left brain, right brain, and like filtering that, those different isolations down into unlocking, literally unlocking our physical cellular, like, trauma, and releasing that. It's like basically like we're unkinking the circuit board. So the more we move, and the more fluid we are in our movements, and the more like sharper the pops, and the like crisper the movements, we're actually unlocking our own circuitry, so that we can experience more energy, and like, which, yeah, it just goes back into the prayer element. So I think someone had asked a question a while back. What was it? My girl, there she is. Yay, everyone dancing.
Well, you found
that question. I'll just respond a little bit,
because there's so much you said that I'm just freaking out with excitement over here.
Yeah.
I love the way you talk about the prayerformance as being a place of other people getting to witness and be inspired and uplifted by your relationship with spirit and with your body and with energy, and the reclaiming of that. That is so powerful. So, 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 so powerful that you can be that. The radiance is a word that I talk a lot about, about, what is it like to be in fully energetically embodied and aligned in ourselves, and the birthright that you're speaking to about what it is to be divine beings on this planet. Yeah, the way that you talked about the prayerformance, the prayer as a constant. And side note, people say things like, be careful with your spells, be careful what you say, be careful what you think, because while we're not consciously like, oh yeah, when I'm thinking about my to-do list or how my day might go or my concern about this, we're not, thinking that we're in prayer, but we are in communication with the energies of the universe all the time. And so when we're in those spirals, or when we're in like the negative thought patterns, that's the prayer we're putting out. And I love how you started this whole conversation diving deeply into gratitude, and ancient indigenous cultures all over the world have always talked about, and spiritual traditions talk about that foundational piece of gratitude and finding inner peace in ourselves, as well as the fiery passion. And you mentioned, for folks who don't know, Ishani is an incredible fire dancer as well. You use all kinds of different props. I can totally see you as the 8-armed goddess multitasking, but without even thinking, right? Like in so deeply in the flow and the trance state that the body is just moving with the different elements and the pieces. Yeah, so beautiful. I love all of that. So many things I could say. Did you find that question you wanted to dive into?
Yeah. My girl says, how do you overcome the fear of being seen as a sexual body? The fear of being sexy, yet it's your inner being. Yeah. So again, like 20 years ago, like women, sexuality just wasn't, it's hard to even conceive of what a different world it was unless you lived it. And I lived it. Like, I'm about to be 45, you know what I mean? Like, I've been through it. Like, I've seen some shit, and it's like the fear of being viewed solely as, like you're talking about. I get that, as a sexual body. But now, even like coming 20 years forward, we are like accepting ourselves as sexual beings, and whatever that means, like whatever your inclination is in the sexual realm, like you go do that, you be that. So that freedom and that self-acceptance is really like coming more and more to the forefront than it ever has before. And it's so cool to have witnessed that in my lifetime, because it's a definite shift. And of course there's still those stuck ass, consciousness that like is like, no change, this is bad, we got to keep things the same, and everybody just go back to their corners and go back to their race and go back to their prescribed, like places that we've decided they should be. And that's just not going to happen. Like, the fucking shit's out of the box, the confetti is blown everywhere, and now we all get to like accept who we are, including our sensuality and our sexuality. And it doesn't even have to do with anybody else. Like, the reality is, we are these intensely creative beings that have what the Vedas describe as the Kundalini, which is spiraled creative energy at the base of the spine, that we breathe up through various practices, including dance, including sex. Tantra is, the action of breathing up that creative energy and utilizing it to awaken the cells, to free the circuitry, to enlighten the mind. And so, yeah, like, mantra is a word, or it's a like a mental technique that's used to protect. So mantra, tantra, and yantra is like a physical like symbol, something that locks in something for you, or something that you visualize or that you dance also is a yantra, because you're basically creating a shape in space and you're energizing it. So yantra, mantra, and tantra, and like there's these pathways that have already been, you know, enlivened for so long that we can reach into and tap into and bring into our own experiences. But mostly what I want to say about that comment is that we have each other as women to like support and to witness and to uplift in our sexual freedom. And I think it's super important that we all realize that we're rising together, and that there's like the only, like the fear of being, you know, the fear of being burned at the stake is a real like physical trauma, PTSD, and like the fear of being judged. And I've moved through that, but only with the help of my other sisters who are out there shaking their asses and being like, yeah, like this is my booty, this is my creative energy, and I'm shaking it up and I'm breathing it up, and ooh, I feel amazing. You know what I mean? And my ass looks good and I feel good. And like, you know, we have each other and we need each other to like continue that rise beyond the toxic male gaze, you know, locked into the like what we think we're supposed to be, or what we think others think we are if we're expressing ourselves in those ways, like, oh, I must be, you know, blah 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 blah, the list. But that definition is old and outdated, and we're redefining what it means to be a sexual being, to be sensual in our bodies.
Yeah, my whole body got tingly multiple times in your sharing, and I saw also a lot of hearts go off. The rising together, that the importance and power of rising together, because we are energetic beings and we are social beings. We're not meant to be doing this alone. And I think an underlying piece that you maybe didn't quite name but are speaking to is the shame, you know, and that question kind of coming from, you know, how do we move past shame and be fully expressed and open and confidence with, while you know, releasing the trauma of the fear, because it's really real. You mentioned the burning at the stake. Like, so many people of all genders, but particularly you know, female identifying folks have a lot of that ingrained trauma from past lives, from ancestors, and also in this lifetime. And that was a piece I was excited to hear you say earlier about how, you know, the different movements are working in us on a cellular level to get that energy flowing. That's something I talk a lot about in the energy dance ceremonies and workshops that I offer, is, you know, that energy wants to flow, and that all the, you know, illness and pain and shame and trauma, all these things, you know, manifest as stuck energy in the body. And you know, a lot of ancient Eastern traditions, you know, can say a lot more about all of that and how it works, and the way, you know, more specifics on how energy flows. But I know through my experience on such a deep level, when we're doing these dances, when we're in a flow state, when we're consciously working with, like you said, the Kundalini energy, or just, you know, however we think about that energy moving through the cells in the body, that there's some real trauma healing that happens there, that can happen. And it's becoming very commonly understood, you know, that trauma lives in the body, that it's in the tissues, and that, you know, through even the simplicity of shaking our body and being conscious about it, you know, like a lot can happen when we're not being conscious about it. But when we're conscious about it, we can really use that intention. I saw someone earlier say, yes, the power of intention and all these practices, using that intention, using the resonance. And usually I use a lot of visualization. I'm a very visual person, and I also paint the way that I experience and see energy when I'm dancing. Again, kind of like a prayerformance, the way you described it, as a way for other people to witness and receive, and also find that permission. I love that you said, I consider myself a permissionary, and you're obviously a permissionary as well, giving people that permission to embody their
that's a
divine power.
byproduct of giving yourself permission.
Mhm.
Like, and it's important, I think, to remember that like all of the exterior reactions to whatever you're doing, it's a byproduct of the permission that you've given yourself to move freely, and the permission that you've given yourself to connect deeply, and the work that you've done that no one else knows about but you, and that has really nothing else to do with anybody but you, in that sense, in that inner sense. And then of course it has everything to do with everyone, but that's a byproduct. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not the cake, it's the icing. And
It's the
the
journey.
journey. It's like
Practices are the
are the
healing
healing
journey that
journey that
we're
we're
each
each
on.
on.
I mean,
I
that
mean, that
my
my
whole
whole
experience with
experience with
dance and
dance and
martial
martial
arts
arts
has been
has been
all
all
about my
about my
own
own
growth and
growth and
healing and
healing and
evolution.
evolution.
And then,
And then,
yeah, like you said, then that ripples out as inspiration for others to be in their
their
unique
unique
place on
place
their
on their
healing
healing.
journey.
yeah, or not, or maybe they're like, ah, that's fucking weird, and then they walk away, but something in them was like, triggered. And maybe they'll find it in another way that's more accessible. That's why, like, the more people that allow themselves that freedom, the better, because we each have a resonant slice of the pie of humanity, of the soul family that we resonate with, that
Mm.
people are like, automatically, as soon as they see you, they're gonna be like, oh, whatever you're doing, I resonate with. And like, wow, I'm so glad you exist. And then other people are gonna be like, I don't resonate with that person at all. You know what I mean? And then,
Totally.
but so it's like we all have our part to play. And it's important that everybody like do that work for themselves, and like however that expresses. Maybe it doesn't express you're on a stage. Maybe it's just you in your living room. But the fact that you're doing that work, and that you have that intention to like step more fully into your body and experience what's there, and to release what's not you, um the like more it affects everyone.
Mm. Yeah, the
the
releasing
releasing
what's not
what's not
you.
you.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
as
because
energy
as energy
beings,
beings,
other
other
people's
people's
energy as
energy as
well.
well.
Yes, on
Yes,
the
on
big
the big
scale,
scale.
we're all one big, energetic being. The sovereignty that you were talking about, the individualism that is a
A
healthy
healthy
sovereign
sovereign
spirit
spirit
energy to
energy
have,
to
right?
have
Not
right now,
the
the
toxic
toxic
individualism of
individualism
the
of the
society, but
society.
um yeah, that yeah, so much healing and so much spiritual growth. And I love to talk about the spiritual empowerment comes from that. When you're speaking just now, it reminded me of something you were
Something
saying
you're saying
earlier
earlier
at
at
festivals,
festivals,
when we're in a
we're in a
festival,
festival.
and the just the energetic frequencies that everyone is creating, and the way that it all starts brewing and stewing together. Or even when you're at a
Try to
show, like a
like
one
a one
evening
evening
show,
show,
and
and
everyone's just like in it, they're
they're
feeling the
feeling
music,
music.
they're feeling that energy together. I think that I've been a very serious person, and very passionate about grassroots organizing. And so I spent a lot of time out on the
Out on the
streets and in
streets and
protests, and feeling that kind of fighting kind of energy of wanting to change things. And I still feel that, but I have some, learned wisdom that you're speaking to as well, about the power of that energetic frequency that we bring. And, what if we're out in the streets really, like, singing and dancing with love and with gratitude and with the visions of a different world that we want to create. Those are the kind of things that I think about. And some friends and I were joking the other
the other
day,
day,
we hear about, ancient cultures, that disappeared, right? Like peoples that, lived in the mountains of Tibet, and a whole society that just seemingly disappeared. And the idea is that perhaps they, all awakened and just transmuted into, divine existence. And we were joking that what if, a bunch of people all went to this festival, and then this whole powerful, like, ripple effect of resonant spiritual awakening happened, and just like no one came home from that festival. They just all rose into the sky. I do believe things like that could be possible.
Well, I think that like this is home, we are in a place of home right now. We we've manifested here in this vibratory frequency, and there's a lot going on vibrationally, and a lot that people that have studied vibrational technology are implementing. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of that, and I think that anybody who lives in the city can feel all the crap that's going on, the radio waves, all the things. But like, that's why, and it's so powerful and important that we like tune in to our own like passion, to our own soul's calling, our drive, our ambition, um our love frequency, whatever you want to call it. It's a place that is like an outward beaming creative, you know, it's a it's a it's a powerful place. And instead of being in this state of like, everything's happening to me, it's all affecting me, it's all coming at me, and like I'm just this like little thing on the ocean floating around, which I mean we've all felt too, and that's definitely a human experience. But there's a whole spectrum of human experience that's available to us, is the reality of it. And so as creators, as creative beings, and maybe we don't feel like we can do anything, but what can we do though? But like, what do we have control over? And like finding those little things and making those little micro adjustments and making those little shifts to where, you know what, I think I'm going to rearrange my space today. I think I'm going to let go of some things, freeing up our energetic space externally, freeing up our energetic space internally, and moving that energy through dance is super powerful practice. That's why I love ecstatic dance also, as just a like a cleansing, like
Yeah.
just to go and not necessarily be so focused on the outside, and like it's not a social necessarily a social experience. It's more of like you go and just surrender to the music and how you feel, and you can move any way you want to feel, you want to move. So ecstatic dance for me is like, yeah, I host an ecstatic dance here in Portland on a like monthly basis, called Inner Eye Dance. And I mean, they're everywhere, which I'm really grateful for. But I think that ecstatic dance is a super powerful tool to just like go inside and don't worry about what you look like for a second. Don't worry about like what everyone else is doing, because there's time for that. And of course, like that's a beautiful thing. Social dance is a beautiful thing. But like just to go inside and really just like breathe and move how you want to move, ecstatic dance is a great tool for that.
Mm-hmm. That's been my place of my journey. From 15 years of martial arts, then I found ecstatic dance and was just like, oh, this is what I want. This is where I can be fully free and be in my own energetic spiritual practice. So yeah, anyone listening who doesn't know about ecstatic dance, who's vibing with any of the things we talk about, that's a really great place to start. I'm in Seattle area. We have like 20 different ecstatic dances, some of them that are weekly, some that are monthly. And so going there over the past 12 years, multiple times a week is my place, like you said, to be inward, to be in my own self. And you spoke a lot to the word freedom, like freedom in the body. And when I facilitate at ecstatic dances, I often introduce it to people as, this is a place where, for one, this is a place where you get to be wherever you're at on your journey. Because a lot of people come in there and they look at everyone moving so freely and they're like, I can't do that, or I'm not ready, or, and that's okay. Some people sit and watch for a while and then start to maybe, step onto the floor and move a little bit. But it's a place to practice being free and to practice that authentic expression. And I know something that I share often is I have met many different sides and parts of myself that I don't think I would have ever known about. The journey that dance takes me on, it's very much like a medicine ceremony. It takes me to those deep places of expressing things that I didn't even know were in there or that I didn't even know need to come out, whether it's some lyric in the song that brings, a loved one to mind that evokes a bunch of tears and opens the floodgates of grief. And, or if it's about, something that happened that I'm releasing, energetically, or, the warrior side. I as a person that you might meet, and all the people who know me well, consider me very, gentle, very compassionate, very, warm and loving and kind of motherly, and that's all true. And when that fierce warrior comes out, it's strong and powerful, like that fiery energy. And I only have really experienced that on the dance floor when the climax, the ecstatic dance takes people on a journey, and it gets ecstatic, and high energy in the middle. And when people play certain kind of music, and I have that revolutionary, like, we need to change the world spirit. When that music comes on, I am in that deep sorcery state. I am swirling, the revolution into being. I am like blasting my energy to help these systems crumble. And I am like rising that energy of, like you're speaking, the creative force of the loving resonance, and like calling on the guides from above to help us. It's this whole sorcery energy work warrior experience that
safe container. Ecstatic dance is like safe container, intentional space that you're like, oh, I can do that here. And not get like pulled out of the room and like sat down and like drug tested or something. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I can like literally freak out on the floor and it's okay because I'm in a safe place. And that's what I love about ecstatic dance. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few places and spaces where someone can rage safely, especially if you're a person of color, especially for Black men. I mean, where do you get to let out the rage? It's really
a powerful thing.
Yeah.
But deep places also come in, just stretching. Like yoga too is such a I think my journey definitely started doing yoga because, just reaching a place of resistance in your body and soreness. Like, how do you approach that when you're like, oh, I'm so sore? Do you just go, and then do you move on with your life? Or do you like, whew, sore, like, okay, let's like sit with that for a second. Let's like breathe into it. Can I give myself like 20 minutes to like roll down a mat and just like breathe into it and like move into my resistance into the areas that I'm like holding stress in my body? So I think, maybe for some, like that's kind of the first step, is like just allowing yourself to like be with yourself in a place of like discomfort, or just kind of like breathing into your own like stress and like tension, and then maybe moving it onto a dance floor where you're willing to just like explore that, in a group of people who are also exploring their own limitations, and so yeah, it's definitely an important part of the practice is stretching.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing you say is that conscious space to be present in the body, or at least work towards that, and it's not always easy for people to be in the body. I talk about that. It's like, as a society, in this westernized, colonized society, for one, we hyper focus on the head and the brain and all of that. But then also people are so traumatized and have so little ways to actually work through that and be supported in a community, like a supportive community space to work through trauma and release trauma, that it can be hard to bring oneself into the body. And just even hands, having a hand on your heart and taking some deep breaths, or on the belly, also just to add that to what you're saying, and for as an invitation, for everyone listening, to go explore some ecstatic dance, explore some movement, roll around on the floor. Whether you want to follow the teachings of a practice or just spend some time with music you love, connecting with yourself. Ishani accidentally left, perhaps. Let's see if she can come back. Yeah, and I was about to turn it over to, oh, yay. Okay,
I pushed
perfect.
the wrong button. I was trying to find somebody ask a question about fire dancing, I think earlier on, and I just wanted to respond to that because I just wanted to pay attention to questions. They were asking, I think, how to begin fire dancing or something.
Well, I think someone
was hinting that they might want to learn from you, in fact.
Well, I think I saw the question as how do I start? And I think that it depends on like what tool you want to practice. Whatever tool you feel resonance towards, whether it's poi or staff. I started with staff doing kung fu when I was 10 years old and just kind of kept it up through my adult life. I would do my yoga and then spin my staff in the park until I moved to Austin and someone's like, hey, we have a fire thing. You want to just light that on fire? And I was like, sure. But I practiced for many years without fire. So anyway, I just wanted to, hopefully that person's still around. Just encourage you to pick a prop that you resonate with. Because it's a great way to culture hand-eye coordination. It's a great way to culture awareness of your space around you and like your planes of motion. Understanding that can also lead into your understanding of creating shapes while you dance, and like ways to move your body and move your arms and your everything around you and create those shapes. So I definitely encourage prop manipulation and flow, if you're interested in that. And it doesn't have to be on fire. There's definitely like plenty of flow arts that don't involve fire. Fire comes way later after you've already like gotten familiar with the planes of motion, and you can safely manipulate something around your body without whacking yourself.
Yeah. And
you said some key words that's very helpful for people.
Flow arts or flow toys. Depending where you live, there's flow art jams, or flow jams, or fire spinning jams. So those are places where people in your local area can be doing those practices and often want to share it and teach people who are new. So those are some ways you can explore. I know one thing I love, I talk about flow toys and props in the energy dance that I teach because it's such a good way of feeling that extension of the body, right? Because our energy extends far beyond the body. And when we're consciously moving energy, I mean, we can move energy beyond time and space. And having a sword or having a staff that you can extend, feel that extension of that energy, of manipulating energy beyond the body is such a powerful way to practice that flow of movement in the body and outside the body. Oh my gosh, this is so fun, Ishani. We can keep going.
Let's keep going.
Talking. We can keep going, but maybe just knowing that not everyone's going to listen to more than an hour of the replay. I would love to hear how people can support you and find you. Obviously, you're here on Instagram, that people can find you here, and you also create incredible adornments that help activate the powerful divine being of the Prayerformers and yourself. If you want to just dive in, share any pieces of how people can both support you and uplift your work and also learn from you and connect with you. What do you invite people to do?
Thank you. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate that invitation. So yeah, when I studied ascension meditation back in the day when I was 18, my teacher at the time gave me the name Ishani, and I changed it legally when I was 18. So it's been that ever since. And Ish is in Sanskrit, which is one of the oldest languages in the world. Ish is the ruler or the like ruling aspect. So like it's like Ganesha is Gana Isha. Gana means like Genesis or first, and Isha is the lord of. So he's like lord of the first. He always rules the root chakra. Um, he's the primordial kind of one that's honored before all others, the Muladhara. He's so Ish is like that sovereign or that ruling aspect. My birth name was Malaika, which is Swahilian for it means queen. So Gizikoi always kind of been vibing on that ruling sovereignty vibe.
Get it.
So the Ish Factor is my company, and I make like crowns for queens and kings, and I love adorning in celebration of the divine, and I love like creating one of a kind pieces for people that can help elevate their expression. And it takes one to know one, queen. Uh, yeah, so that's part of my passion, is creating like fire crowns in particular, or costuming through the Ish Factor. And I definitely offer classes and one-on-ones, thinking up a workshop, another series workshop maybe for April. But and I teach at various festivals. I'll probably be teaching at Sonic Bloom in June. Just taught it in Vision. That was pretty fun. Let's see. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Do you want to see this one? It's like a
Yeah, show us.
sneak
So this queenly adornments.
silver Valkyrie. She's gonna be done pretty soon. But like, yeah. So yeah, like just a celebration of divinity, of the mind that's freed from itself, the freed from its own limitations, the energy that's flowing upward and outward, radiating like the divine beings that we are. So, yes.
Do if someone were to go look at your page, are all the costuming pieces that you wear, do you create pretty much all of what you wear personally?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Thanks. I love poetry too. Yeah, poems are definitely a healing modality for me to make sense of chaos, emotions, and putting them into a format that rhymes is definitely powerful. But yeah, because 20 years ago there wasn't Amazon, there wasn't like all this mad burner style, like it was just boring ass clothing that you had to either make something to fit what you wanted, or like you just didn't exist. And so I started making my own stuff for performing way back in the day, and like late 90s. And eventually people started asking me to make things for them. And I like it started with burner goggles too. Like I was used to be like one of the only ones that would decorate goggles, if you can believe that, back in the day. So it's kind of how like Ish Factor started, was the goggles and the costuming. And then I kind of started designing fire crowns at some point, and now that's a jam. So
It sure is.
yeah.
Such amazing skills. Wow. I love that. And you said you teach different things. What would, who would you invite to come learn from you? And do you teach, I know you said at different festivals, do you teach online as well, or mostly local in Portland for folks who might be?
Yeah, I think right now I'm just offering like one-on-ones online, and happy to just kind of dial in. I'm doing creative consultation, so like mentorship, which I haven't like formulated specifically, but just saying that here. I love tuning in to someone and just offering what I've learned from being in this field for so long, and just kind of helping to create like an avatar. And I can definitely transmit some skills around staff spinning, double staves, fans. swords, so like fire tools in general, and then also belly dance basics, conditioning for belly dance, so the stretches that are involved in freeing up those muscles that are specifically used in belly dance, and also understanding rhythm and melody and how to isolate those in your body, and then layering those in like a million different ways. And that's, I like to give people the basics and then help people find like their own style and their own expression, instead of just like, here's my style, please emulate me. Yes, I definitely like supporting people in like the basics and getting a good foundation that they can just take and run with.
Mm.
I love that.
I think that's so needed. There's enough people out there, far too many people out there saying
they have the answer and this is how you do it.
Yeah.
And this is how you do it, just like me, because that's what I did. And then, yeah, the truth is that we're all such unique beings, and there are universal tools and concepts and practices. I like how you kind of frame that as like, get a foundational basics that then can help people evolve. That's kind of is how my journey went also, is just, kind of throwing myself out on the dance floor to do whatever kind of movements and things that I wanted to do. And learning energy work, from some specific Reiki traditions. But then I continued learning energy work on the dance floor. Spirit I'd be doing some big thing, and then I'd be like, oh, I'm getting in my way. Oh, that's what they mean by that being the hollow bone. Okay. I'm feeling this, or, I'm trying too hard. Oh, if I let go, oh, if surrender, the teachings come through.
Yeah, and that's why ecstatic dance and like having your own practice is so beautiful for that time. And then, like you were saying, you're noticing that performing is kind of coming out more, and that's like, I was challenged pretty early on. Right as soon as I learned belly dance, I did like one little recital with my Zill class, and like it was really awkward, but it was fun, and I started enjoying it. And then I was invited to sub for a friend of mine at a restaurant she was belly dancing at. And then all of a sudden I had to dance like in front of people who were having dinner. And and I was like, hey, like right there at their dinner table, and they're on a date. And she's like, don't you dare look at her. And like, it was a more of a conversation that was happening in my dance. And so I went from like having this beautiful internal experience where I could just like trance out, do whatever I want, to all of a sudden then being like, oh, hello, like, how, like, I see you and I'm offering directly to you, and there's a flow here that's happening, and I'm sending it, and I'm intentional, and how does this look, you know what I mean? And it's a little bit more of a mirroring understanding and a conversation with your environment, more so than the like inward trance journey. So it's just a different aspect, and it's like there's a lot of joy to be found there in that conversation. That is a different kind of experience. It's like expanding your deep inward experience, expanding it into offering it into the eyes of another human being. It's a beautiful thing.
I love hearing that, and how I'm feeling the call to prayerformance, but I haven't quite gone that direction yet. But when I am in those deep trance kind of states on the dance floor, I often, in my communities, people know me and I know them. And there's sometimes certain songs will gravitate us together, and we'll make either, whether it's two of us mirroring each other, not necessarily mirroring movements, but that energetic sensing and feeling conversation. And sometimes there's, three or more in a whole circle, and the power of what happens when we're in that energetic conversation. I often feel like we're a bunch of sorcerers, whatever freaking gender stuff. Brewing this cauldron, this vortex of energy between us, and this huge, galactic prayer that just comes out of this group vortex sometimes. And I can imagine, I'm just seeing that scene of you, dancing and being in that, like you said, not fully deep only in your own state, but with that openness of that giving and receiving, of like to dance in prayer with the people in witness surrounding, then their energy becomes part of it. That's actually a big piece of why I birth paintings into the world, is again to offer that kind of opportunity for people to witness the painting and embody it and experience it in themselves, and be able to add their prayers and their energies to that inspiration or that theme.
And there's three worlds, right? So there in a lot of, a lot of cultures, and in my own dance awareness organically, there's that upper world that's I've the most familiar with in my dance. I think I used to be an upper body dancer for the most part. Like I was very comfortable with my arms and like upper world, but like not so much in the lower world, because then it was like, ooh, like all those feelings and like being human, and like think tattoos go along with that too, like getting like a yantra on your body like holds energy physically, like you're held in the body, which has been a journey for me. Some people come in, they're like, yeah, I've been in this body forever, I'm totally comfortable in it. And it's the upper world that fucking freaks me out. And so it's like everyone maybe has a different resonance, but there's those three worlds: upper, lower, and then the middle world, which is that each other. And the middle world's also a hard one for, I think, for me, because that's the vulnerability. That's where you're like, hey, I'm human and I'm sharing my humanness with you, and who knows what you're going to do with that and how it's going to affect me, and like I don't know if I want to be affected, and and then it's like, so tapping into those three worlds, being aware of those three worlds is really important in dance and in life. But like it's a fun thing to kind of play with in your dance. Like tapping into, like, if you're just focusing on the lower world, how does that affect your dance, and like how does that feel in your body? And then like if you're just like, maybe you're focusing on the connecting with the middle world, and you're looking around a little bit and you're being vulnerable and you're looking in people's eyes and you're maybe sharing that, and then how does that feel when you're like looking up into that upper world, and like you're connecting with that elevated bird sense of yours. And yeah, there's some birds in there, and there's some symbolism, some stars. People are asking about my tattoos.
Yeah.
Mostly these were like, you're here now. These were like, okay, we got you. Like some spirit energy or some like guide energy here, and the symbolism is like got me for life. So that's mostly what that means. But yeah, the three worlds, yeah, like just kind of pay attention to those when you dance. And also in the body, of course, there's the three kind of main levels. You've got your hips, you've got your chest and your heart region, your stomach region, and then you've got your upper and your shoulders and your arms. And so each of those can move in different ways. And so yeah, just kind of maybe play with that.
And
flowing.
I love that. I remember in my martial arts, in my younger martial arts days, talking about that too. And like different techniques will have the different expressions, the ones where you're like striking here or striking middle or going low, and or where you take this technique down or extending. And I know that I resonate very much with kind of being a little more up here, and I think that can be really common. Obviously an important thing to track is spiritual bypassing, and like, okay, are we just going to float up here in the spiritual space and kind of ignore the stuff down here and all the problems and traumas that we might have? So yeah, my journey has really been about like, okay, don't be so high up here, like up in my third eye, just like blasting off and not really connected to the earth so much. So I've been really focusing on the roots the last few years, and I've really felt a difference. And now, so much of the way I both teach and do my own dance practice is, and a lot of spiritual traditions talk about this too, is having that balance of up and down at the same time. And, they say you can only go so far up as you are rooted down, kind of that, that full circle tree of life experience. So I'm very often in my dance, and you can see in my art too, focusing on the center place with the extending the roots way, way, way down, while also extending the branches way up, and then you become that toroidal field of energy that's flowing always around our bodies, and finding that balance to where we can be, both like rippling energy out from the center as well as beaming that up and down together. Talk about being a channel, being a bridge between worlds. I find
and again,
so
we
powerful.
always are in every moment. Like you can't be in a human body and not be running energy. And so all the work, everything from brushing your teeth to like when you drink your water, to all the mundane tasks, to feeling things deeply, to allowing yourself to maybe just check out a little bit even, and like what I mean, all of that kind of like the self-care, like really having the intention to like accept yourself, where your pace, be at peace with your pace, I call it, and like just like just like self-acceptance, self-care, allows you also to offer that to other people and be like, yeah, you're just where you're at, it's cool. And then of course there's always like more that we can do, but that more is always going to be there, and so we can relax into a relationship with it if we have a little bit more patience and just self-acceptance, like, yeah, I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, it all makes a lot of sense. Also, these are big ideas.
Life is the dance, you know what I mean? We're always dancing, and so all the things that we do to nurture the lower, the middle, and the upper worlds are all interconnected and important at all times, in our lives. Like to pay attention to, like, yeah, like you were saying, like maybe I'm so more comfortable here, I'm pretty aware that I've got some discomfort over there, and so how can I like feel into that a little bit and explore into that? Like maybe I can drink more root teas, or like I can have more like I can choose my pants with the pants I wear differently. Sometimes, have you ever noticed you feel like your upper clothes and your lower clothes are totally disjointed? You're like, why do my pants not feel comfortable? My shirt's great, that kind of thing. Like it's like, oh, lower world, like how can I sink in a little bit? You're like, like, yeah, it's always happening. Peace with your pace. Yeah, peace with your pace.
Yeah, peace with your pace. And I really appreciate and want to uplift that reminder that we are always flowing energy all the time. And there's something to be said for people who are naturally gifted at energy work, or who have studied various traditions of energy work. That's all really powerful, and I think it is really important that we all see ourselves as energy workers, because we are moving energy and working energy. I teach a portion in my energy dance workshops and classes about the power and responsibility of energy, because if we're going to learn about energy and how to consciously tap in and move it, energy, we also have to realize that we're doing that all the time and be responsible, both to not be, throwing negative energy, carelessly at other people, and also consider, this is kind of a question of inquiry I've been bringing to folks who've been working with me, is if we see ourselves as powerful divine beings, as energy workers, how do we want to use energy work in our lives? Whether it's blessing our food, whether it's holding that vision of what we want to call in, sending out those prayers, of to bring in the things we want into our lives, whether it's, we're sending healing energy to some issue, some injustice going on in the world. How do we use our energy? And for me, this is really exciting question to ask ourselves collectively, because I know that for me, there is so much to do and work on and be within ourselves as individual sovereign divine beings, and the power of the collective intention. And like we talked about, in the collective space of a collective resonance at a festival, how do we use that energy? It reminds me, when I'm at a big event, whether it's a festival or a concert or ecstatic dance, I often will kind of be on the outside and sometimes bring this swirling, like invite all the energy that's being created collectively to be lifted up as a prayer for, for the world, for calling in that vision of a world where all beings can thrive in love and respect. And I'm not expecting everyone there who's like, woo, I'm feeling the love, that's beautiful. That's this love. That's this, that's each person's unique expression. But I don't expect that each person there is consciously putting that energy towards birthing a new earth or whatever, right? People have different language for that. But there's that place for that collective energy to go. That's what I'm excited about. So
yeah,
I love that question.
I went to my first like Oregon Country Fair when I was 17.
That was my first festival too.
Yeah, like, and I was like, wait a minute, this is a place where we've all agreed upon that nothing is going to be normal and everything's going to be amazing, and it could be like as amazing as we want to make it. You know what I mean? It's like a safe environment to like explore potential, literally, and for nothing really to be normal other than like, treat each other kindly. But yeah, there's a beauty in the container of the intention of a conscious event, a conscious festival that provides a safe place for people to like let go of how it's always been and to explore how it could be.
Exactly. A place to practice a new
way of being, a new
old ways of living together.
Yeah. And that's now finally like filtering out into, reality slowly, but like it's filtering out into everyday life. People are like, well, wait a minute, maybe I don't have to go to work for someone else every day, or, like maybe I can do things differently in my life. Yeah.
A lot of
unlearning and relearning.
I like to talk about that.
Or if I'm going to work for somebody, it's going to be something I'm really behind and I'm really into and I really want to support and I feel good about, and like,
and bring your magic to
and bring your energy of like
what feels important to.
Yeah, spinning fire is another really amazing like way to purify the space when adding, like when you were saying when your intention is swirling, but like I feel that when I spin fire, it's like this purification of the space because it's really like swirling flames. It's potent. It's fun.
Yeah, I love hearing that so much. Wow. Yeah, of course, that makes so much sense. And you're reminding me, I have a lot of artist friends, especially in Portland near you, who really talk about the role of the artists and the dancers and often at these festivals, music is what's like really highlighted, which is great. Music is really great. Don't get me wrong. But there's something to be said about the energetic anchoring. I know Danny Stevens talks a lot about this. The importance, the role of the artist and like fire spinning, that there's these energetic cleansing and also inspiration that is bringing things, helping release things that people are transmuting at an event, right? You mentioned like people often arrive to festivals kind of cranky because it's not always easy getting there, right? That there's this releasing of the stuff, from whether you say the default world, there's sort of, icky, unhealthy, toxic societal norms that we all have, on some level agree to live by in order to live in the society, as well as this calling forth, what is your truth? What is your inspiration? And I know all the artists and dancers and everyone, at a festival is bringing their gift of their energy in that place where we can all come together and really co-create a different way of being, and then ripple that energy out to the world while we're there, as well as throughout our lives. Bring. Oh, yes. There, we could so keep going. I'm loving this. I'm tempted to say, everyone who's listening, give some thumbs up if you want us to do another Instagram live sometime, because I know I certainly would be down. Yeah, you're giving a thumbs up. Me too. Yeah,
It's
throw in some
fun. I
hearts.
love talking about this. It's like, been my passion for a long time. Like ever since I went to that first festival, I was like, wait a minute. This is a reason to stay here on this planet and be a part of this, like I can see the exponential evolution that happens at a festival setting that doesn't really happen anywhere else,
Yeah.
So now it's getting to a point after 20 years of this is like now there's like Coachella and these like huge ass festivals that are like creating 170 tons of waste, which one American, like the average American creates 1 ton of waste per year, and they're creating 170 tons of waste per day, and it's like a whole like week-long festival or whatever. And it's like now the responsibility I think is like really, I mean, more than ever is important for the people to hold the festivals accountable, hold the containers accountable, to continue leveling up their sustainability practices. And Envision's actually pretty good about a lot of that. They encourage, like, they ban like single-use plastics not allowed. They have like dish rental and stuff, and like they have a lot of good sustainable practices. And there's a few festivals that are like have leveled up, but there's a lot of festivals that create a lot of waste. And so that's like another whole issue, another whole talk, but it's definitely a passion of mine because I see how important they are and how important it is that we do gather and we vibe together. um but also, like, I think it's shifting to like how can we make this like sustainable also, and like really integrate our leveled up consciousness into our lives, into our everyday lives, and like change the system, you know.
Mm-hmm. I had the immense privilege of actually interviewing a few festival producers last year for this big series, online series that I did. And several things just popped up as you were speaking that they were telling me. One being that people who are in the military or of some kind are not permitted, like they are not allowed to go to festivals because of the transformation that can happen there. Like literally the US government is worried that they will wake up, right, if they go to a festival. So that I thought was an interesting piece of news. And also, I think to add to what you're saying, how to create these experiences to be more sustainable is to also create them to be more permanent too. And like, most festivals are this temporary thing that happens for a long weekend or a week, and then it's like all this work goes into building, and then all this work goes into taking it down, and all these people are like,
Yeah.
wasting gas to get there. And
Sonic Bloom, for instance, in Colorado, they own their land. And so Hummingbird Ranch is always there. There's people that live on the land. And every year, there's a certain amount of people. It's also like limited to a certain amount of people, which I think is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We do
also
want to
the
live
things.
the festival. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I know
A lot of festivals have started doing,
they call it different things, but invite people to come some days early and work on a sustainability project or something that's actually going to be for the land, for the local communities, to actually use all this energy of people coming together to create in order to build something for the long term, for the, big picture world.
Absolutely. I've had that vision for a long time, and I just want to see it happen. And I don't know how it could happen, but yeah, like basically contacting people who are super skilled permaculture architects and finding communities, potentially like Native American reservations, that need infrastructure, certain infrastructure. Say they need a community call or a community house or a kid or a school or a buildings that or a water, who knows, like communicating with indigenous people and creating, like finding us like permaculture sustainable designs, and then having people that want to learn from that permaculture expert pay to learn from them and build the structure, and in communication and collaboration with the indigenous people. And then like maybe the last week of building, have the artists come in and paint, and like some skill sharing workshops, and like the music, and you know what I mean, the like the festival vibe maybe a little bit. It's like Building Man, it's like something that you leave when you're, you know, going. So anyway, someone asked what festival. I'm going to be at Sonic Bloom. Just signed up for that one. It's one of my favorites. It's around my birthday. It's in Colorado. It's June 18th through the 19th. And yeah, feel free to message me about conversations. That's cool. That's fine. Building Man. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Somebody make it happen.
Except let's build something else.
Yeah, but I mean, and we are all like living in society. We all have our little pieces of the pie. So like we're doing our, you know, little parts, but like big change and applying festival culture to changing society, you know, that's kind of like, I want to see that happen in my lifetime.
I'm yes to that. I'm just seeing in the chat. I don't blame anyone for being intimidated to talk to Ishani. There's a question in the chat, you know, how do you approach you? I know I was so excited when I was seeing you perform, and I happened to have backstage passes that day at that show, and I was just like, I have to talk to her. I just went backstage, and you were so supportive and open and welcoming. And with us hardly even knowing each other, you invited me to, I needed a place to stay in Portland. You let me stay in your home at one time. That was so sweet and generous and beautiful. So, you know, despite being so incredibly skilled and powerful, I think, you know, I'm sure you would agree and invite anyone listening to, you know, come up and say hi, and, you know, obviously not be demanding of your time or energy, because none of us like that energy. But I'm sure that you would love to hear from people. Yes, people can DM you.
You know, and I really appreciate your energy, and I appreciate where you're coming from, and that you are exploring the energetics of dance in this way, and this really like therapeutic and intentional approach, because I feel like people need to have different access into it. Like it's one thing to see somebody doing something on a stage and be like, that's cool, but it seems maybe so far away. So how do you like bring that into your own practice? And I think it's really important that you're breaking it down, and that you know, feel grateful you've invited me to speak on this is something I'm really passionate about. So and that's why I let you stay at my house, so nobody get any ideas. I don't just let anybody stay at my
house. I didn't say it that way. Sorry if maybe that was too much. But just to say that you're a kind, approachable person that I thank you for your words. And I love working with a lot of different kind of people. I have people come to my dance ceremonies who have hardly ever danced before, who literally were recovering from growing up in a cult where they weren't allowed to dance, and the people who are professional dancers and are newly getting to dance their own dance, right, and their own expression, and as a spiritual practice instead of as a performance only. So yeah, if anyone is vibing with my energy and wants to come check out these deep dive energy dance ceremonies are so powerful, and I do them in person and on Zoom. Actually, I'm hoping to coordinate one in Portland soon, because I'm going to be in Portland in a few weeks. So
if you're coming around April 6th, Sheena Medicina, Christina Sasser will be DJing Inner Eye Ecstatic Dance at Jaja on April 6th, Thursday. So if you're around, it's going to be a really good one.
That's going to be so epic. Wow. Very cool. Yeah. And also we both do things online. I'm actually in the middle of an energy dance ceremony immersion. We've done 2 out of the 6 sessions, and I'm kind of going through each pillar, each core practice of the energy dance that I'm doing. And so the next one is a focus on using visualization, which is on April 2nd. And then the next one after that will be on April 30th. So folks can find all that info in my bio and can find all this awesome stuff about Ishani and the amazing things that you're doing through your site and also your creations at the Ish Factor, which is linked through your page too, I'm sure. So, oh my gosh, really could keep talking, but probably we can maybe save our energy and do another one another time.
Yeah, love to. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Ishani, so much. Thank you, everyone who's been here. So many people have been hopping on throughout this whole live. Really, really grateful to see each of you and been waving to all of you. And I will post this live so people can listen to it fully. Yes, million thank yous. You're welcome. Ishani, this has been so fun. So I knew it'd be so vibey of the things that we're both so passionate about. And I definitely learned some things from you and all your experience and wisdom. So what a joy. What a beautiful joy. Yeah.
Appreciate you. Hit me up when you get here.
I will.
Okay.
I sure will. I would love to see you and embrace you and connect more in person. Yay. Blessings to everyone. You are powerful divine beings, powerful energy workers. We all have the ability to work towards full freedom, bodies and in our communities. So believe in yourself. That was my message to myself this morning. Trust, just gotta trust myself more sometimes. You know, we just tend to doubt. So, yes. Beautiful.
The heart always knows.
Beautiful. All right. Blessings. Yay. Glad people
are so inspired and encouraged listening.
Yes. Yeah, so much beauty and inspiration flowing through. And all of you are such beautiful,
powerful,
unique, creative beings. So may this conversation be a really powerful upliftment to everyone listening to really follow your passions and your creativity and, you know, what the spirit, as you were saying, Ishani, how the spirit calls you, you know, following that guidance. Yay. All right. Bye, everybody. Ooh.
That was